Jane ate only sardines for 100 days. Her family wanted to know what were her mercury levels. I wanted to know what was her poop like. Why would someone do this? Jane is a coach for me on our keto class, and she's struggled with food addiction for years. She used the carnivore diet to lose 65 pounds and improved many health markers, but she had a plantar fasciitis that was her real motivation. On carnivore, she hit a stall with 50 pounds left to go, and that foot pain was steadily growing worse. In fact, it was interfering with her job. The biggest reason I put sardines on the menu for food addicts is because it helps with food volume. It really reduces that food noise, and it's hard to overeat sardines. But what happens if you eat them for 100 days? You can just tell by looking at her. She's glowing. Before all this, she had a morning fasting blood sugar that was unhealthy. It was around 100. On carnivore, she reduced that morning fasting number to 90. But on the sardine-only menu, she hit a healthy number of 80 nearly every day. Jane tested her omega-3 index. And for reference, mine is 4%. And that's average for the United States, but it's terrible. Jane's came back at 22% after these 100 days. For context, I have a goal of 8% for my patients. I had never seen a 22% before, so I called the company and said, "Is this ever seen before, and is it safe?" Apparently, they see this about once a week, and it's found in those who have a rapid omega-3 conversion in their genetics, as well as those who eat a traditional Japanese diet with fish. Jane's vitamin D level had been all over the place. It had been super low and then super robust at other times. She had struggled with weight problems for years and indeed had insulin resistance. Folks with insulin resistance have a twofold problem. They have a tough time absorbing fat, and vitamin D is a fat substance, and it gets stuck in their fat cells, so they can't find it in circulation. She was struggling with both of these problems. In the past, when Jane has lost weight, we would see her vitamin D skyrocket. So during this challenge, we had her stop taking all supplements with vitamin D in it. And yet, during this time, her number shot up 55 points. This is in part due to her weight loss, but it also is a result of better absorption during the time where she was only eating sardines. By the end, her body was sucking up every vitamin in those fish. So she was doing this to reverse her plantar fasciitis. And indeed, it did reverse that while losing a total of 35 more pounds. But wait, what about all those toxins like arsenic or lead or mercury? I'm sure you've heard Joe Rogan's rant on how he got arsenic poisoning from eating too many sardines. I looked through the scientific literature and I'm hard pressed to find any credible cases where arsenic poisoning happened from canned fish. But we checked Jane's anyway, and she was at a level of 4, where the range goes from 0 to 9. Mercury had me curious. It's often recommended not to have more than 1 or 2 cans of fish per week. And even though I don't agree with this recommendation, I did have a shadow of doubt. What if her number was high? But it came back at 1.6, where the range is from 0 to over 14. And her lead levels were normal. So now, my curiosity, what about her poop? This isn't the first time Jane has struggled with her stools. And in the past, when she's done a sardine diet, she had constipation. And that's not uncommon. So in hopes to prevent the constipation, she added MCT to the cans of sardine. This was in hopes to boost her ketones, but also to prevent the constipation by adding fat to the diet. And we might have overdone it. At first, she had multiple loose stools per day, and her stools were floating on top of the water, which means there's a lot of oil in it. So she was struggling from a malabsorption. And this also is not an uncommon problem. Patients who struggle with malabsorption have had it for years, and it's often a consequence of insulin resistance or metabolic syndrome, that slow, steady grime of inflammation deep inside the body, in this case, at the lining of the bowel. By persisting, she was teaching her bowel how to absorb that fat again, a critical step in her healing. When I finally asked her at the end of the 100 days, "How does your poop look?" she said, "They're very condensed." Her body had learned how to extract every morsel of nutrient from the food she was eating. This is an excellent sign of health. How do you do a sardine challenge? Here's the rules. I'll see you there.